Howdy, folks. Pyra Draculea here. You're probably going to see the back of my shoulder depending on how I have the camera angled. I'm going to try and lean out. But it is time for another Paint with Pyra. I'll just hold up the reference image. If I lean back and almost fall off my stool, I can sort of see around the other side what's in my phone. So we are working on this portrait of my character, Ricky B, the rock and roll rat. This is the reference photo is cobbled together. Obviously, I cartooned Ricky in, but the reference pic I took at the Cowichan Exhibition in 2022. I've gone over this in previous episodes, but we have the grid on last time, and I just edited the Paint with Pyra video for me last night, but when you guys see it last week. So I have a refreshed memory of this, especially the misery of doing the pointillism in there. Always, every few years, I think, oh yeah, pointillism looks cool, and then I remember why I don't do it. Anyways, so we've done a bunch of paint pen work up here. I'm satisfied with the amount that's here because a lot of this is gonna, have actual color paint on it. So like I'll leave some little bits of this poking through, but well, we'll see that probably. I don't think we're going to get to that in this video. We might, maybe, a little bit of blocking in, but probably that's going to be the next video. But this bottom area with the table, the flowers and vases, because this was the flower show portion of the Cowichan Exhibition, and then some some paint pen underpainting. How many times did it take me to get that right? On the table, and a little bit on Ricky. I'm not going to do it on his flesh color, but maybe in his jacket. I'm actually going to bump this up so it's sitting on the edge. And we will muck about. Basically, the reason why I'm putting it in is some texture because it'll show through, as I've discussed in previous videos, but also to mask the grid lines, because sometimes the grid lines really want to go through, even with supposedly opaque pigments. So let's get right at it. And oh, the other thing, in case someone's missed, so what I've been trying to do is do the paint pen work for the most part. Some of this is like tone on tone, green on green, because the overall color has a slight pinkish tone to the ecru off-white. But anyways, I'm trying to kind of do the paint pan in the opposite complementary color to what will be on top. And I guess that means, since Ricky has blue-black hair, I guess that means our first step today is let's do some line work in his hair with an orange paint pen. Also helps me kind of see. I mean, the outline is there, but it's a little hidden. I probably, well, like I guess I just said, won't do too much paint pen work. Actually, no paint pen work on the underneath on the flesh, because that can be really difficult to get rid of. So like there's already going to be green in here from the base. His little ears go kind of pink, because apparently that's the thing with rats, that when they're happy, content, they relax, the blood flows more, and they get these their ears go pinker and pinker the happier they are. So, and I don't think too many people would be watching this would be familiar with the Cowichan Exhibition, but here in Canada, when marijuana became legal a few years ago, they actually now have a homegrown cannabis division. So if you're standing where Ricky's standing in Mellor Hall at the Cowichan Exhibition, he is looking at the display case, and it's a locked display case for obvious reasons, that has the homegrown cannabis division. I'm actually not sure how they judge the cannabis. whether it's just on the look of the stuff or the smell. I don't think they actually like smoke it. Although that would be kind of hilarious. But yeah, anyways, so we got some red going in. Ricky, well, I think I may have explained it in previous videos, but Ricky started life. I had a sketchbook. I'll link the video tour down below. That was the Bono Mouse sketchbook where I kind of had Bono mashed up with Mickey Mouse and became its own character. So he started off inspired by the drawings of Bono in his Fly era with the shades and the black leather outfit and whatnot. But you could tell this is not a Bono hairdo. As soon as I thought, oh, this is an interesting little dude, maybe I'll make him into something, and started sketching him out. Like within like 2 or 3 drawings, suddenly he started looking like a Sid Vicious wannabe, and he completely has nothing really to do with Bono anymore. But that is the roots of Ricky. So, I guess because his jacket's going to be kind of a blue-black leather, I guess I can do some pen work with that same, and then that'll also tie Ricky's punk rock hairdo in with his jacket. So, in here I'm just going to sort of squiggle. Also need to kind of look. Oh, okay, his arm goes right. I was trying to tell if this was going out, but that's actually one of the vases. So, yeah, I mean, obviously they have a weed section at Cowex, but I think when I put this in, I think I've said before, I'm gonna probably just call it "Take Me to Your Cheese" section. But I mean, he would be interested in cheese, but not necessarily. That's kind of not what has his attention right here. You know, he likes cheese, but cheese wasn't going to get him to make his own homemade official judge badge. So, there we got there. Oh, well, I guess also we got to do the pants and belt. So do we want to have, I mean, I think the official judge is just going to be like a sheet of paper. So I think the color we have under there is enough because I think it's going to end up just being like a white piece of paper or something. And we already said we are not doing like green in the ears because that's already there. Same with the jewelry. So that means we get to move on to the table. Now, down here we're getting, and this isn't the greatest color reference, but I see it on a screen. This definitely has, well, you sort of can see maybe that there's a bit of a light bluish grayish tone, more green undertones here and some pinkish up there. So because that's why I did the bottom half sort of a green, or top half green. It only takes me 2 tries to get them right, top and bottom correct in the morning. Top with the greenish to counteract the pink, and down here pink because it's going to go green. So we're going to use some pink markers in this area. And also helps to show the planes that the table goes this way and then the tablecloth goes that way and then the floor, whatever, right? So I do wrap around. If I can manage to get this through my little gap. I don't know if this is showing at all what I'm doing, but And I've got little ribbons sort of dangling off throughout here, because that's in the reference photo, and it also helps convey the edge when the fabric goes drooping. Did I screw up here? I did, because that's for the lattice, but the lattice actually stops there because that line connects. So anyways, that's fine. It's all getting painted over anyways. But to remind me, let's put some horizontal lines there. And lots of leaves and stuff in here, but we will probably, the contents of the vases won't really go up until the very last minute, other than blocking in some color. Like for this, because those are hostile leaves, I'm probably going to take advantage of this green that's drooped down and work around it as if that was part of the painting. Well, I mean, it's part of the painting, but you know what I mean, as if it's part of the foreground imagery of the painting. That is the giant paniculata hydrangea that is freaking huge and drooping down, so we're not going to worry about that too much. A couple little lines here and there, but this, what it says is please do not touch. Now, on the garden club section, that's a white, right? My section, because I the last couple years was in charge of the needlework division, which is way back at the other end of the hall. We have ones that are bright yellow, like, and that are, it doesn't matter what color you have the signs, they will be ignored, right? But because so much of the background is going to be sort of white on white, shades of gray, shades of ecru, I think I'm going to make that like a neon yellow sign. So we will come in and scribble on that with purple to, well, I guess to make my life more difficult when it comes to putting pale yellow paint over top. But I mean, I'll probably use a fairly light purple, but I want it to go all buzzy. Yeah, fuzzy's good. When I wrap around back, this may not. In fact, I don't think it is going to show what I'm doing. But there is a vase right on the edge here. So I extended that around, and I'm just going to put some pink lines here. Similarly, oops. I get that to show in the back. Yeah. So I do wrap on the bottom as well. So, there's that. Now we're going to do kind of for where the tablecloth comes down, but it's going to be a darker pink, not this one. So I have to kind of, and that wasn't actually my lightest pink marker, so we got to spend some time. You know what? I'm just going to, that Posca's a little too close. And that's going to be too light. Okay, I guess we go right up to the sort of darker, whatever. Very technical terms, the sort of darker, whatever. So, and because this is an awkward area to get at, I'm going to start with the bottom. I'm basically just doing the same thing. So I was doing. And because I'm not looking at what I just drew, it's not actually going to line up with the ones that I'm doing on the front, but that's fine. That's not the point to have it line up necessarily. The point is to continue the idea. And again, a lot of this going to go bye-bye when I start laying in the paint color. So double check that that's not already where Ricky's jacket starts. But let's start working backwards from where Ricky's jacket is, because then that kind of makes it clear to my brain. And you can see I just knocked out one of the light yellow lines. A little light yellow lines probably were going to be fine in the context of being painted over with a light color, but so we got that. This is kind of going. Mindful where my painting knives are in my cart next to me. You know, actually, why don't I just move those out of the way? Why don't I just move those out of the way so I don't risk stabbing my canvas and then having to fix it? And the same sort of idea. This continues that way. So you're just going to put in a few lines to blend it. And that also, it's subtle, and I don't know how well it shows up on camera, especially here where I started actually knocking out some of the grid lines. But when I'm close up, then it kind of reminds me, okay, this is the planes involved, right? We will be doing some red on these vases, but not quite yet. I might do it with that brand. So the floor, well, the floor is light again. It's also, I'm going to use this kind of dusty, rosy, kind of dirty pink kind of color for the floor because, well, people are tracking mud in from outside. So. Now, because we're getting into as well the floor, I think I am going to do a bit of a grid, mini grid, because then we can do some of this sort of stuff that I may let parts of it show through for texture. All over, though. And I may come back with that. I may come in and fill in some of these dots and make it a little bit echoing what's going on in the windows. So let's actually do that. We're going to use some turquoisey. Very technical term, turquoisey. So probably areas that have this little square motif. Like I would probably come in with the overcolor paint over more this area and leave some of these little islands of. So then I should probably be more cautious in how I do them. Leave some of these little. Whoa! It would help if I was actually braced on something. But we will. I don't know. Is my head in the way now? I think the camera would be off to the side. I also have to be mindful of somewhere in here we need to have a place to sign. Now, what I did on Ricky's still life was, well, we saw the back of a canvas he was painting on. So I signed on the back of his canvas with my name. And on Vote for Myles, I signed sort of right along the armpit. So, I mean, here I would probably sign along there or maybe there. bearing in mind that this is going to the Cowichan Exhibition, and in theory it's a blind jurying. So obviously, I mean, I'm not going to be like Bob Ross with the massive signature. I usually use a paint pen, and it's pretty small. And sometimes you have to almost hunt for where I signed things, but it's not exactly going to be covered, is my point. So that is the very last thing we do. And I don't know. I have no idea. This is, I think, Paint with Pyra number 5 for this painting, like part 5 for this painting. So I really have no idea what number it's going to be, because we're still on the paint pen work. Especially because I'm trying to keep these to like an hour. So like when I'm filming this, I think I'm about half an hour in. I think I started at like 10 after 9, and it's now 9:40. Let's do some of that on the bottom, or first on the side and then on the bottom. So, you know, the signing, I don't know. My gut says the signing episode is going to be like 27 or something. Part 27 of this painting. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, 30 hours seems about right. This on the side, so again, that's probably a bad idea. I don't know how well any of this is turning up. I don't want it to be an exact checkerboard pattern, but almost looks like piano roll notation there. So hopefully that's in focus there. I mean, hey, at the very end, I don't know if I'll do it this episode, but try and I think on the last one I forgot to do like a zoom over of what I had done that was close up, but my bad. So now we got to deal with these vases for the flower show. Now what they are actually is they're kind of two parts. So the base is like a cone with an open top, and then I think there's like 2 different sizes of bases, maybe 3. And then there's like 4 or 5 different sizes of the bit that goes on top, and like different heights and thicknesses and stuff. So you can mix and match. No, hang on. So let's define them, and then I'll remember where they are, maybe. This also helps mask some of the lines where I used a ruler to connect the back and stuff. I'm not going to worry too much about accuracy, all right? Just get the idea. Especially because these are going to be a dark green, so odds of this stuff showing through, not as good. Some areas of the lattice show through. That's okay. They'll just end up becoming highlights or whatever. Whatever. Yes, the please don't touch sign. Why don't I do that right now before I completely forget about it, eh? Because I will. The base is wood, which is kind of orangey in tone, so we're going to put a little bit of blue for the wood block. There. Now it stands out, sort of, for now. Okay. This one seems to be quite the mismatch. It's a big old base and a tiny top. This one is more evenly matched. And we got here to get on this little straggler. This goes over 3 sides, so that's going to be a major pain in the butt. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Well, I blotted out whatever was behind Ricky's big old head. We can assume there were flowers, but for this sake, we'll just pretend that they're little flowers in little jugs and they don't come any taller than that. Because I don't feel like digging out the actual reference and filling it in. All right. Well, if I got my angle right, eh? Something in the back here. I mean, you can see the reference. Those are the same size over here, but you know, well, that one isn't obviously. That one's a massive one like that, but you know, they're getting smaller and whatever, whatever. Oh. Did I mess up last week? Yeah, I did, because there is one of these puppies way in the corner because it's got like a big old ornamental grass in it. Let's add one more on the side, a little Easter egg for somebody who's paying close attention. This work is not going to be for sale because I think I found out when I was doing the grid that it's out of whack. Wobbles, it wouldn't lie flat on somebody's wall, so it's going to wobble on my wall instead. Ribbons. Let's do the ribbons. So this first one is a second place, so that will be, and give it a light green. And then the next one is a blue, so we will give that an orange undercoat. I mean, there are ribbons throughout the table here, so put something like that there. And there's tags and stuff, which I may, like these little entry tags. Oh, that's like that one's, somebody got a third for, I guess this was the third, and it's attached to the tag, which is sitting on the table next to that. But thirds are white, so we're not going to bother. Yeah, whatever thought I had in my head just went bye-bye because it's first thing in the morning. Oh, what I was going to say is after everything's painted, I can come in with a thin black paint pen and scribble in some tags and whatnot. So where was, I just had that green. There we go. Got one more. That is not the same green I used. Whatever. It is now. So now we've got a couple tags drooping off the side. All right. How we doing for time? Well, we still got it's about 45 minutes here, but at this point, I would say, I was going to say I was done, but no, it would help if I actually put in the stuff that's in the vases, right? Okay, so this one is hosta leaves. We'll just do like that. And that. We don't want to cover up that. We want to use it. This one actually. You're only supposed to have 3 hosta leaves, but hopefully, well, if any of my friends from the garden show see this, somebody is going to point out you're only supposed to have 3 and this one has 4. Actually, they probably won't. They'll just be like, wow, you painted the flower display from 2 years ago. Now, over here, we've got a bunch of fuchsia. And fuchsia is like a lot of tiny little leaves and some little red ones. So this, because you've got the contrast, both the green and the red are in the final. So we're just going to do this. And some of it's going to be covered by green, and some of it's going to be covered. And I will add some green marker to this afterwards as well. Yeah, it's completely different from what the cap looked like. Like some like metallic blue color, and it looked like a midnight green, forest green, but whatever. It all works in combination. So green leaves. This one has sort of, and then yeah, this one has a lot of leaves, and then the stem goes like that, right? And then there was, right, because the stem of this covers the phase of that. But we do see some of the flowers. And blue does not have. Okay, so now we do have here. We've got a big old blue hydrangea. Oops, that's not the orange marker I'm looking for. I just had it. Where did I put it? That's flush colored. Yeah. And this hydrangea is one. Some of the paniculata hydrangeas, they start off white and then they slowly turn like pink and if sometimes even burgundy as the blooms age. So this one definitely went pink. Now we can't really see that much. This one here has some of that pink burgundy, but it also has, I guess or I should be putting the greens down there. It also has some that still look kind of like chartreusey. So this is another case of where it's all gonna stay. We'll add some pink. This one's more chartreuse overall. So at this stage, we are doing this. Do some of this as well here. There. I can't really tell other than there is like this one I think is like some sort of a orange flower. So we'll do that. This is like some sort of ornamental grass sort of thing. Which is actually in reality be kind of a orangey browny color. So we will whip out the blue. What the hell am I looking at? Oh, sunflower. Okay, well, sunflowers, we're seeing the back of them here. So yeah, I said I wasn't going to do paint pen work for the people. But yeah, so get this in just under an hour, I think, by the time I shut up. So there's our reference image. Right. And like I said, I will link below to previous episodes so you can see the whole process. But now I'm going to pull the camera off, well, the phone off of my tripod. And let's have a look-see. Okay, so the zoomed out, we started by adding some orange into Ricky's hair. We got the little blue. Sort of find the planes of the table and the tablecloth and the floor. Added some of this decorative stuff that'll poke through. Got some lines on Ricky's clothes. And some squiggles to indicate where the flowers are going to go. Yeah, that's kind of the side. Some ribbons too. I'll put this down and then fetch the underside so we can see that. All right, so now, because this probably didn't show very well. But, yeah. So that's the side wrapping. And this turquoise has a little bit of shimmer, which is kind of a fun extra touch. Will be Ricky and his little hand and whatnot. And that was the vase that goes around the corner. And there. Yeah, there we go. So that is the current state of affairs for Official Judge. Hope you've enjoyed it. Next time, we're going to get messy. My hands are going to get covered in paint, even though I'm not finger painting. But it's time to break out the brushes and start blocking in some big areas of color. That'll also define, like, in here, where I'm kind of like painting around, but I'll leave parts of this exposed and whatnot. So that's when we'll start to really see the space come out, right? And even just the raw blocking in of color, if I'm trying to keep each of these under an hour or around an hour, then, it's probably going to take 3, maybe 4 episodes to do the rough blocks of color, and then we start painting details. Finally, woohoo! I mean, hey, this painting isn't going on exhibition until the Cowichan Exhibition in September, so if it takes, it's not going to be an hour a week because I'll start filming like multiple episodes in a day again, and then be way behind and have no idea what's going on in the world. When it's actually posted a month later, well, I mean, we don't really talk about what's going on in the real world. We talk about what's going on in Ricky's world. Yay, Ricky. Ricky's going, I hope there's lots of cheese and pizza in this world because I could really go for some now. Also, it kind of sucks that I'm looking across at the weed display, but I'm stuck here in this painting. I can't get to it to smoke it. Man, it sure sucks being an official judge sometimes. You don't get to sample the wares. I thought you could. Anyways, so we will keep running along with this. Hope you've enjoyed it. Catch you next week. And just a little plug for my other stuff. I guess if you're seeing this, there's a good chance you're subscribed to my channel already. But if not, hit the like and subscribe. And the YouTube drill. I also, on Saturdays, I do what I call Scuttlebutt, where I kind of sit. You actually see me, which that might be a plus, that might not be a plus, whatever. You can always just listen and not watch. Or watch and not listen, depending on your preference. But I talk a little bit about what's going on in my life, what's inspired me this week, etc. And then I just, it'll be a week ago when this gets posted, but yesterday when I actually film it, I just started doing a Tuesday evening live drawing live stream, which is kind of, I have no idea what I'm doing the technical stuff wise, but it's kind of fun. And what we've been doing so far, well, there's only been the one, but I have an upcoming cartoon, what's the word I'm looking for? Plot arc in my other webcomic, Noah's Archipelago, wherein Ursula, Noah's daughter, finds out about, well, it's Chuck E. Cheese, but we're calling it Cheesy Rats in the cartoon world because, copyright and trademark and stuff. Anyway, she hears about this and she becomes obsessed with it. So we're doing some drawing about, like what would the logo for Cheesy Rats be, and the mascot costume with like a teenager wearing it and whatnot. Ricky will show up in that because in the cartoon universe, they all live in my head, so they're neighbors. even though in the comics themselves we don't really get into that crossover. But there will be a bit of a crossover where Ursula goes and asks her friend Ricky because, you know, she figures he's the expert. So anyways, that's all I'm going to say about now, but it'll be going on Noah's Archipelago, mostly the Facebook. I still have to get the website up to date. I'm so sorry. But we will start seeing more of that stuff in Noah in the next few weeks. And in the meantime, we're drawing the logo and stuff like that. And there might be like a Ricky, at least in my sketchbook, like a Ricky cheesy rat crossover and all that. Anyways, I'm talking about things that at the time this is posted still won't be posted live. So, but point is, stay tuned. Anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Bye for now.